Okay, part two. Jack happens to have a pocket watch, which is bad because Hook has this whole croc watch TikTok thing. Hook is taking a nap and he hears Jack's watch and he goes absolutely ballistic. Like he has watch PTSD. Takes Jack into his room of clocks and is like, you can smash all these clocks. Like we don't have clocks here. And while he's smashing the clocks, he's telling him like to take out his anger on his dad. So he's like, this is for your dad missing your games. This is like a real case of parental alienation. Then they randomly have a pirate baseball game, which I don't know why that's a thing. Obviously, Jack wants to play. Peter has snuck to this baseball game and he's watching the game also. Hook is full on like, I'm Jack's dad. So he's like, that's my boy, that's my son. And Peter's like kind of spinning out. Also, somebody else, when they're running to second base, they like shoot him to death, which is so aggressive. Jack ends up getting a home run, thrilling, and they like hoist him up on their shoulders. Peter absolutely crashes out and like runs away from the scene. When the ball returns to Earth, it hits Peter and concussed. He looks into the water and sees the reflection of young Peter. It's triggering his memory, so he goes back to the hideout where the Lost Boys used to stay. Tink is there and she is in a gown for Peter, which nobody cares that Peter's married, least of all Tink. The fact that he's concussed and that he's now in the hideout is making everything come back. He has vivid memories of his mom, and I don't know who this person is, he's in the stroller and they're talking about like his future. He's going to go to school. He's going to have a wife. And the baby, why he remembers this, I have no idea. But the baby like freaks out that it's going to have to grow up and then eventually die, which is weird. So the baby somehow like yeets the stroller down the hill and flies away from the mother. The mother never finds the baby. Baby Peter is laying on the ground in the rain and Tink just so happens to find the baby. So she does a child abduction and brings him back to Neverland. I don't know the logistics of what this looks like when he gets back to Neverland. Like, is Tinkerbell changing diapers? How quickly does the baby grow? Like, I don't understand how this works. But eventually, when he's old enough, he decides to go back to check on his family, and they have had another baby. And who could blame them? You've been gone a while, but he is devastated. So he starts visiting other windows, including Wendy's window. And this is where everything becomes very weird. He talks about going back to visit Wendy like all the time. He would go visit her. And Wendy continues to get older and older, obviously. But she is like clearly in love with Peter. Eventually, he comes back and she has become elderly, as one does. And she's like, I can't go with you. Like, I'm a grandma. I have grandchildren now. My granddaughter is sleeping right over there. She's 13. At which point, they just go gaze at her. She's fast asleep. I don't know, her light's on. The thing's crooked. I don't know what's going on. They're just watching her sleep. And Peter said, I'm going to give her a kiss. And Wendy's like, don't give her a thimble. She'll be so sad. She can't keep you. And he's like, no, a real kiss. What? Meanwhile, Tink's at the window like an absolute creepazoid watching this happen. So is Wendy, the grandma, who's weirdly in love with Peter, who's clearly a child. And he non-consensually kisses her on the lips while she's sleeping, which that's very weird. And they're like, that was it for Peter. Now he lives in the human world. When he remembers all this, he remembers that he's a dad, mostly just to Jack. They never talk about the daughter. And that's all he needs to be able to fly. Like, that's his happy thought. And he is 100% back. He flies back to the Lost Boys to show them that he actually is Peter Pan. This whole time he just forgot. When he comes back, he's actually kind of annoying. It seems like before he couldn't remember that he was Peter Pan, and now he can't remember that he is an adult Peter. Like, he has devolved completely back into child Peter for some reason. Rufio sees him and like bows down to him and says, you are the Pan, and gives him the sword. And then they do this weird crow, which honestly gave me the ick, but whatever. Oh, also amongst all of this mess, Peter's talking like a baby. He's in full baby voice. It's horrific. Tink becomes big. She becomes a full-size person. And Peter says, you're humongous, which makes me laugh. And she kisses him. The real victim in this entire film, I believe, is Moira, his wife. So like late kiss, he's like, oh, I actually just remembered that I'm married and I'm an adult human. Actively breaking Tinkerbell's heart again. Honestly, this man may need an inpatient psychiatric stay. So he has now again remembered that he has a family, so he goes off to save his kids. He appears on Hook's ship to rescue the kids. He is physically signaling that he is now Peter Pan because he has poofy hair, and I think he's wearing like a little bit of eyeliner. But for this reason, Jack has absolutely no clue who he is. A propensity for amnesia may be genetic. So he's like, I don't know who you are. He's mini Hook at this point. So now he has to fight Hook, but he gets caught in a net, and then all the little children come to his aid. And all of their tactics are basically like Home Alone. They blind them with mirrors, they shoot them with eggs, they trip them with marbles, they hit them with like fruits and vegetables. I think these are the most dreadful, useless pirates I've ever seen in my life. They are taken down nearly immediately by a bunch of 8 to 12-year-olds with water guns. That's embarrassing. Also at this time, Smee is burgling the ship. He runs from the fighting and just is taking all the jewelry from Hook's quarters, which is funny. During all of this, Hook is doing quite literally nothing. Peter generously remembers that he also has a daughter during this scene, so he goes to get both of his kids because Jack saw past the slight hairstyle change and was like, oh, you are actually my father. And the kids are mostly holding their own because the pirates are complete goobers. So he's like, we're just gonna get out of here. And then Hook literally kills Rufio? What the I didn't remember this scene at all. Like, they killed him off. Does anybody? I didn't remember that. While he's passing, he says, I wish I had a dad like you to Peter. Jack is like, get me out of here. They're doing murders, which Hook is actually really sad about. I think he's just very lonely. So he tries to take his kids away, and Hook's like, I will haunt your children forever. You will never be without me in your life. And Peter's like, JK, we're staying. And he decides to do like a dually thing. They go into this weird little square where this is the crocodile, and everything about this is upsetting. First of all, why is it that large? Anyway, the children all have clocks because we know that that is his absolute kryptonite, and he has predictably another nervous breakdown. Peter karate chops his wig off, which is embarrassing, and he has him like on the ropes. Hook begs for mercy and Peter gives it, which is literally always the worst plan, and he like sneak attacks, but just before he can kill Peter, Tinkerbell comes and like grabs his hook, which if she could do this all along, I feel like she's much more powerful than we've given her credit for, because what are you doing, Tinkerbell? Anyway, she like makes his hook go into the crocodile, which it like smoke happens. This magic makes it alive because the crocodile falls. This is actually a better picture of the crocodile. It falls on top of Captain Hook. Captain Hook is like in where the mouth is, but then it like burps. It's making noises like it's alive, and it eats Captain Hook. And then one of the little children like peers his head up there, which don't do that. And then Hook is just gone forever. Peter is like, Tinkerbell, take the kids, like go on ahead. I have some stuff to do, which I don't know why the kids couldn't just wait, but that's fine. And he bestows the sword onto the best, most adorable lost boy. And then they all fly home. The children fly directly into the nursery and hide from their mother, which that's mean. Don't do that. She's asleep, so they just get into their beds and like get under the covers. And then there's a big reveal where she's like, I almost thought I saw them in their beds. And then they're like, surprise, we're actually here. She's like, seriously, why would you not tell me immediately? And Peter didn't even make it into the nursery for some reason. He just flew and fell in the snow under a statue outside. I don't know why. Smee is like a street sweeper for some reason, which doesn't actually make any sense. And then he sees Tinkerbell. This is to never forget Neverland, and then he comes back into the window and he's like, what did I tell you about this window? Always keep it open because I'm a fun. And he throws his cell phone in the snow, and hopefully nobody ever tells Moira everything that happened in Neverland, because that would be bad.